Lovely. Okay, right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for making the time to be here. So, the first thing, you will be familiar with this form if you've ever attended any of these before. There's a linked form here that just asks some questions about RE in your school that really helps me to put together my database of things that are going on. And I should have some time in the summer to start to really follow some of that up. Some schools have said they're happy to be visited. We've got things to share, and I'm going to give you a platform for sharing in a moment as well that I think will be really useful for you. So at your leisure, and I'll pop it out in the follow-up email. Then it'd be great to fill that out. If you didn't get an email from me this morning, it means that I don't have your email address. It'd be really helpful if you can make sure I do have it by the end. There'll be a platform with which for you to do that. Um, and I will ask everybody to please put their name. That I'd like if you could please put your full name and school into the chat for me. If you could do that now, that would be great because then I can just give the register back to the local authority. Because unless we report attendance and get feedback, then they can't fund this kind of thing. So thanks so much for putting your name and school into the chat so I can give them a register. On the right hand side here, you should be able to see this feedback form. Can I just get I am screen sharing, I believe. Can you see the QR code there? Just give us a wave, a nod if you can see that. Yeah, lovely. So at the end of today, I'll point you towards that. Please do fill that out, and that enables us to shape what we're doing for you. So today, I want to let you know some things that are new and interesting you might want to get involved in. Talk very briefly about the support that's out there for you, because I know I mention that every time, but there's always new people, so I just need to signpost these things. I want to just launch very briefly a kind of a sharing best practice group. Um, and then we're going to go into our main event, which is a discussion about curriculum and assessment. How are you doing it? What are you doing? And what's going well? Where would you need some more support? How can we support one another, really? And then I just want to draw your attention to some other bits and pieces. So the first thing to be aware of is that this Saturday in Chelmsford, at the Half Moon Square, it is the Sikh New Year Vaisakhi festival. So this is about the forming of the Khalsa. This is a really good way to build your subject knowledge and to get involved and to understand the kind of lived experience of being a Sikh. And the person, it's the Sikhs of Chelmsford who have organised this, and they are people who have helped me out recently by helping me film a video walkthrough about Sikhism and the content on the new syllabus. So I'll point you towards that in a moment as well. The thing that I'd like to ask you is, did anybody attend Strictly RE? That was in January. If you did, this is the time to give us a thumbs up and unmute and tell us about it. Strictly RE is an annual conference to support RE teachers. It's really it's fabulous resources to get a kind of a sense of everything that's going on. It's well worth putting in your diary for next year. It will give you that kind of full immersion, in everything that is RE world. It can be really useful, especially if you're new to leading RE. The next thing that I want to signpost for you, can I ask, has anybody here already signed up to come to the Jewish Living Experience exhibition? Anyone? Oh, okay. Well, at the moment, there are still some slots remaining. So this is the Board of Jewish Deputies, the organisation that kind of manage education about Judaism in the UK. They have a travelling artifact exhibition, which there's about 7 of them around the country, and we have booked the one for London and the Southeast. So it'll be at Anglia Ruskin University, Chelmsford. It's free to attend. There's a teacher CPD event on the. Thank you for that message, Will. It's me that I will coordinate that with you, so you'll get a message from me. I think that you might have raised it with the LA, and I'll get back to you on that. So yeah, there's a teacher event on the Monday. There's a launch event on the Monday. But there are student workshops, 3 a day throughout the 8th to the 12th of July. We've got parking for minibuses. We've got it all. Get yourself booked in. There's a link here. I sent the flyer out this morning. And we've got about, I think, 5 or 6 slots remaining. So do get booked up to bring some students along, and there will be members of the local Jewish community who will be talking children through artifacts, really hands-on. It's great. it's great. You should definitely go. So put that in your diary and get in touch to do that. So the next thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the main event is just about supporting you. One of the things that came out last year from our schools survey was about teachers looking for support groups. So to support one another. Now we've got this sort of community that we're starting to build here, but I think we need to step it up a little bit. And the way to do that, the way that I'm proposing here, is for us to all say what we can help with and what we'd like help with. If we've got a document that is easy to access, where somebody can look to help other people to know what they can share and where they can ask for support, that would be really helpful. So I'm just going to put this link into the chat, and I'm not going to pause for us to do this, but it would be so helpful if you could, at some point during the meeting today, just put your name into there with your email address and your school, and just say where you can help and say where you'd like some help. Because if we know that we're looking for help with curriculum design in Key Stage 2, and someone else is feeling really strong about their practice there, that's really, really helpful for everybody. So if I could ask you to do that at some point today, that would be amazing. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to be feeling like you're doing everything right. We never feel like that. In order to be able to help others, there's always something we can help with, and there's always something we can help request help for. So the next thing I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you a few minutes just to explore. And apologies for anybody that has already exhausted all of these resources. I bet nobody has. So one of the requests that came through, a long-standing request, is always teacher subject knowledge development. The new syllabus has got so there's a great deal of knowledge to get your head around. And I know that you'll already be doing lots of this. There's no change to to the religions themselves and the things that you should know. But these resources have been built specifically for the syllabus and to help you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you and then just give you like 3 minutes, just 3 minutes to go and have an explore. Okay. So the thing that I want that you'll be able to access this from is here. This is it. And if you click on the link that I've just put in the chat, it's going to open up a document like this. So I'm just going to drag that in. Okay, so it'll look like that. And then what you can do is whatever religion that maybe you've got something that you're building up to, or you're working on at the moment, you can click on any of these and they'll take you to a folder of resources for that faith or worldview. If you click on, and this is what I'm going to do now, if you click on this column, you'll find slides designed specifically for that religion in conjunction with the syllabus. Okay, so it's a proper walkthrough for that religion and how do you do it. And then I'm missing a link or two. I've started to record walkthroughs of me talking through the slides so that I can add a bit more detail for you. And then I've got an interview. So I started interviewing members of faith groups about what they think we should be doing in schools with regards to RE. And you'll see down here Shweta Kaur. So Shweta is from Sikhs of Chelmsford, who is looking after this event that's happening this Saturday. It's all coming together, So if I could give you 3 minutes to click on the slides, the resources. Yes, Joe. Share everywhere. Yeah, totally Creative Commons given to everyone. Okay. Can I give you 3 minutes? Go and have an investigate of this document, of these links, the slides. See that there's a common structure to them all. I've done the structure is exactly the same for every set of slides, and it also includes who can you talk to in the local community to get into your school or to go and organise a visit. I'm gonna be silent for 3 minutes while you have an investigate. Unless there's any questions in the chat, in which case I'll speak. Hey, so before we move into our discussion about curriculum and assessment, can I ask, are there any questions or any feedback on those slides and resources? Anything that you think, Ben, you've missed this, or could I have some of that um, before we move on? If you think they're going to be particularly useful, then that's always good to know as well. Makes me feel good. I do the right thing. But if I'll take your silence as validation, if not. But if you do start using them and you find that helpful, if you've got any teachers who, whenever people are planning, sharing those resources, those slides with them should be a really good way of just say, okay, this is where I can go for resources. So this is all what I really wanted to do was just pull together where can I go for good quality resources that I can trust. So I wanted to put that together in one place. And you'll see that if you use those slides to help you with knowledge development and curriculum building as a result of that, with any one religion or worldview, it uses the same structure for every one of the others. So once you've used it for one, you'll know that all that same stuff. Oh, right, okay, we've got BBC Bitesize. Oh, TrueTube has this. You'll know how to do it for any other religion or worldview as well. Okay, fabulous. So that takes us now into our discussion about curriculum and assessment. So what I wanted to do here was give us some questions to frame our discussion, and then I've pulled together some very broad resources that just kind of point people in the right direction, and then I'm just going to set you off for a discussion. Then we're going to come back to feedback from those discussions. So we'll have two discussions and probably two rounds of feedback, one for curriculum, one for assessment, and we'll use breakout rooms. I'll ask you to decide, if somebody can feedback from each group, that's really helpful. I'll also shuffle people around, like halfway through, I might move two people from one group to another so that you can share what your group has been discussing. So we'll get as much kind of cross contamination as possible. So our first sort of set of questions about curriculum, it'd be really great to start off in your breakout rooms, about 5 people in each room, just explaining how you go about building your curriculum in RE and an area you're most proud of. There is no one perfect way to build a curriculum in RE, in the same way there's no one perfect way to assess. There are definitely good ways and best practice, and the syllabus has some guidance, and NatTre has great guidance, and RE Today have great resources, but we don't have a national curriculum for RE, so there is no one way that we have prescribed. So we do things that best reflect our demographic, and the locally agreed syllabus is a way of helping steer us, giving us a framework with which to use. So in terms of the other questions, it'd be great to know if you could discuss how you're using your syllabus and adapting what you already do. What have you got? We've all got historical resources and ways of doing things. When a new syllabus arrives, there are some changes, but there's so much that doesn't need to change or can just be reshaped. Where do you want to go next with your curriculum? Like, where do you know where the kind of the key areas for development are? There's always areas that we're really pleased with and bits that we want to make better. And hopefully we can support each other with that. And then in terms of building a curriculum, what are the must-haves? What do you really need in there? Now, I want to show you just 2 slides before I send you off for your discussion. And remember, if you've got access to my slides, then of course you can revisit these resources. So this is a picture from the agreed syllabus, and there's a link to the syllabus there. And so this is what your curriculum should look something like that if you're following the agreed syllabus, which means you've got 5 inquiries. So you have a big question. Each of those inquiries runs for 5 to 6 weeks, and that's 5 half terms throughout the year. You can see there's different colours. The blue reflecting philosophy, the green reflecting human and social sciences, and the orangey colour from theology, because we have those 3 lenses to get that balanced discussion, those 3 disciplinary lenses to ensure there's balance. You can see that there is a mixture of different religions there. We know that we have a predominantly Christian focus plus other. Right, and then we can kind of sometimes we visit things in great depth and something really comparison. So where you can see we've got, for example, Hindu and Christian at the end of year 1 there. So that might be comparative throughout. But then you can see at the beginning of year 1, Christian, Hindu, Jewish, and there's probably going to be a bit more that's going to be a broader rather than a deeper discussion. So you see there's balance. Now, I wanted to give you three things that might help you in terms of curriculum building. So firstly, there is a meeting, a set of slides and a video walkthrough of the planning process. So walking you through step by step. Okay, well, we did that right back in September, and you can visit that if you're new to this. And you want to see exactly, okay, I look at this page and then I go to that page and then I choose this question. If you want that, that's where you need to be going. At some point, I wouldn't do it in your breakout room, but you might want to have a look and see what's there. The second thing to point you towards is where on the syllabus is there guidance, okay? So for the curriculum, pages 15 through 19, again, you can link to it here, and that's going to tell you how to start building your curriculum and check your curriculum against. And then finally, we're 3 years behind Norfolk, who've got almost exactly the same syllabus. This is the website that takes you to all of their resources where they have done medium-term planning for a great deal of those big questions. And then I've put together a bit of a cheat sheet. So if you click on that, you'll see the questions, and you would use that in conjunction with the website. It would make it really easy for you to find the question you want to answer and the resources to go with it. If you have a look, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so these are our questions. I'm just going to divide us into 2 breakout rooms, and what we will do is probably pop back for some brief feedback halfway and then go into 2 different rooms to discuss assessment. Okay, here we go, and you're going to be invited into a breakout room. Are there any questions before I do that? No? Okay, great. Just before I do that, I'm just going to put the link into the chat one more time to my slides so you can use any of those things I pointed you towards. And here come the breakout rooms. All right, I'll drop in, see how you're going. See you shortly. All right, welcome back, everybody. That is the slickest Zoom breakout room return I've seen since pre-pandemic. We always get the 60 seconds of waiting. Okay, I just want to give you some brief input on assessment and send you straight out again to continue your discussions. When you arrive in your breakout room, I'm going to immediately drag people to just do a switch over. So you'll go back to your room that you were in before. Or maybe I can just do it here. Okay, yeah. Anyway, right. So really interesting to hear your discussions. We'll do feedback after this second one. So we're going to talk about assessment. These are the questions we're going to be thinking about. How do you assess? What's the purpose? Why are you doing it? What's it for? Who is it for? And how do you use the data that you get? How are you using the syllabus to help you? To what extent are you borrowing from other subjects? We always used to compare, if a student, excelled in English or in history, then, I would reason that probably, there's a lot of crossover with skills there with RE. But I wonder about the personal angle where that kind of comes in elsewhere. Anyway, so these are the broad questions that we might discussed, and I wanted to point you toward two sets of things that might help you. Firstly, on the agreed syllabus, if you make your way to page 37, you would see this. We have got examples of possible age-related expectations. Norfolk went and created them, I think, for all of their inquiries. You'll see that they're very easy to adapt to make applicable to whatever it is that you're doing. So that's one approach you could take, and then maybe you could go for a kind of working towards on target above for those. That could work for a process of assessment. But here's three suggestions for you. So firstly, you can find some information on the syllabus here. Secondly, you can get loads of great information from NATRE, the National Association of Teachers for RE, and please do, as a school, join. It gives you access to loads of great stuff. But here is a very short 2-page with bookends. Assessment guidance from NATRE, and you can get a more detailed version here. There's lots out there. If you Google NATRE assessment for RE, you'll get quite a lot of things. Something will work for you. Something will meet what you already do, what you need for your students. Because again, it's based on what your students need. The level of challenge, the specialisms of your teachers are going to determine the way that you assess. So RE Today also have great resources. Here is a link to one that you might find useful. There's also some free CPD for teachers there as well. So there's some suggestions. Okay. I'm going to open up those breakout rooms again in just a moment. In fact, I'm just going to do my quick switch. So I'm just going to move Janine. You're going to move across, and Joe, just going to move you across, and then I move Annie and Will. Then we've got a bit of a switch over. And you guys can kind of be a bit of feedback on comparing discussions and so on. Okay, here we go. We'll be about 8 minutes.
All the other people there were suggestions that they don't formally assess, or it's teacher judgment, or it's being taught obviously, but there isn't necessarily any kind of assessment taking place. So I thought maybe there might be as a group, we might need some guidance into how the best way to assess it is, or how it should be assessed. I don't know.
Well, I think you need to determine as a school whether, if you are assessing what the purpose of that is. I think you always want to have a sense of where students are going, but in terms of, creating hard data, that depends on you, doesn't it, as to whether that's part of your school policy to do that with non-core subjects. Can I ask for some brief feedback from anybody about anything that you thought was particularly useful, or any questions that you're remaining with at the end of that? Anything that you'd like to share?
I got quite a lot of information in my group about assessment, because we are sort of starting the whole assessment thing, and yeah, people had some very good ideas just about how it doesn't necessarily need to just be about data, but the whole point of it can be about looking at the gaps, and then seeing how you're going to address those gaps in starters and things like that. So it seems like a lot more. Seems to be more of a point to it, I guess, the way they're doing it, than just have hard data and send off to a the subject lead and then forget about it.
Yeah, and it's entirely down to your context, isn't it? But you know, as a teacher, we want to know where our students are at, where we want them to go to, and you know that is mapped out in our medium-term planning. We know what we're looking to achieve, and we know what that should look like in our class. What we then generate and how we use that information. Well, maybe we've got reports going home, and they require a grade of some sort, but yeah, it's entirely down to us, isn't it? In terms of best practice, I would suggest that your starting point would be that NatRe document that I shared. Would give you a really good starting point. That RE Today book on assessment would give you lots of different ideas and options. There's a great deal of I would look to RE Today and NatRe for your starting point if you were looking to do assessment differently, or looking for a framework, and find something that is a best fit for your school and your context. Thank you so much to Kelly and Helen, who have put their names onto the document that I shared earlier. I'm just going to these last few minutes just point you towards some things. So this was the document earlier. Now, what I've done for each of those is I've then commented, and you'll have both received an email because I've tagged you into it. So if I use this document for this would be a great working document for us to use, where you know you've got a question, you've got something you want some help with. If you fill that in and either email me or just put at Ben, you know, put at in my email, it'll go to me. I can then give you my best answer at that point, or we can start another discussion. So, you know, I think this could be a really good way of everybody being able to kind of see who can help them and to request help and guidance. So in the meantime, I'll kind of, you know, comment on everything and try and find answers for you. But that would be really, really helpful. And as I said earlier, if everybody here today could put their names into this and say what you know what you can help with and what you'd like help with, that would be really, really helpful in shaping what we do for one another. So I wanted to point you towards a couple of things before we close today. So the RE quality mark is if you feel like you know I would encourage everybody to work towards it. But the RE quality mark has got 3 stages to it, and there are some assessment criteria. It might be a really good framework. All of the quality marks tend to have good frameworks. The RE quality mark certainly does. A framework which would enable you to then deliberately work towards making sure you had fabulous RE at your school. And if you'd like some support with that, I'd be delighted to work with you and point you towards some other people that could support you. In terms of the national picture of RE, there was a recent Ofsted report. You'll probably be aware that there have been subject reviews done for all of the subjects. I think DT would still be outstanding, but the the RE one has just been published, and the core findings I've put onto this document here, and I would encourage you to have a look. I've turned it into a little sort of school self-assessment framework. I'll put a link into the chat now as well, but you might find that really interesting to look at your school in comparison with the national context, and think about, you know, how do I feel about my provision. If you were an RE lead building a department, building a group of teachers, building RE in your school, and thinking, what should I be aiming for? Well, knowing the national picture, the Ofsted report for 2024, that kind of state of the nation report would be a really good starting point. What I did is the report's linked at the top, but I just there's 11 kind of core findings, and then it digs into that data. Great way of kind of testing, maybe working with other teachers, looking at that and thinking, you know, how do you feel about the provision at your school, and where would you know, where have you got some strengths, and where have you got some areas for that you'd like to develop. So I wanted just to remind you that, of course, this is just an annotated contents page. If you're new to organising RE in your school, just a reminder that the agreed syllabus has got a contents page that has it has, sorry, it has a page in it talking about designing a coherent curriculum. And what I've done is I've annotated that page to show you where to look. So it's just an additional helpful document. Another reminder that there are the LA InfoLink have sent out previously this kind of everything all in one spot, the links to the future meetings and so on. So hopefully you're getting that. If you're not, get your school to sign up to the local authorities InfoLink email circular. A reminder that there is a Google Drive full of resources. Every meeting gets recorded, the resources and lots of other things go in there as well. Everything that I've shared with you today is all open access. Give it to anybody you like, and you can get to all of that here. A reminder, of course, that Norfolk have done it. So, help yourself. There's lots of, if you're designing an inquiry, you can use their planning to help you. And I pointed that out earlier. We've got one more meeting this year. Actually, there's two. There's another one that you could attend if you want to, which comes through the Alpha hub, and the links are on the slide there. And that takes us to the final thing that I would really appreciate it if you could do this before you leave today. And I'm happy to stay on and talk to anyone that has any questions. But if you could scan that QR code or click on this link now and just give us some brief feedback before we finish, that would be amazing. And yeah, there's been a lot. There's been a lot today. I hope there's something that you can grab hold of, something that was useful. And if you've still got any questions that you haven't had answered today, or you'd like some pointing in any direction, then please just hang on for a moment. Very, very happy to help you in any way that I can. And I hope that you have enjoyed talking to one another. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful